Got a new car. Let's go fix it. Hey guys, how's it going? I'd like to introduce you to my 1974 VW thing. They were made, sold in the United States, I should say, for 2 years, 73 and 74. I think they actually made them from 69 to 80. But in this country, they were available for 2 years. A little backstory on this one. We're going to start getting into it, walking around and seeing what it's got. But I was at a VW show last October in Boston. And the museum that had it for sale during the show, and of course nobody bought it during the show, and I inquired about it and I ended up with it. It does need some love. It's got some issues. I think it sat for a long period of time and then somebody tried to rejuvenate it. That stuff will show up in a few minutes. It did run, but it definitely did have some issues with it and still has some issues that we are going to iron out together. Plus the stuff that we haven't found yet, just like any used vehicle. So it was kind of like I don't know, you want to call it like a trade-in, or not trade-in, you take the tax benefit and you donate it to, you know, charitable places, and the museum, again, is one of those charitable places that they donated it to. The museum had no use for it in their collection, so they sold it. They put it up for sale at the VW show. And I was the lucky winner. I am saying that now. 74, you can tell there's some difference between 73 and 74. There's these covers over the vents on the back. You can immediately tell that's the 74. The 73s do not have that. They got some heat system differences in them and a couple other smalls, but generally they're pretty much the same car. This one's got a optional hardtop on it, and it'd be nice if the back window opened like a hatch to make that rear section a little bit more accessible, but it does not. But that whole roof does come off. You can take the whole assembly right off of there, and they do make convertible tops for them. Actually, it would have came from the factory with a convertible top. It's got soft top doors, so the doors have these that are in them that can come out of them. You just lift them right up and out. There's one sitting on the seat right there. But it's a summertime vehicle for the most part. You can take the doors right off of it. The windshield can fold flat down to the front like a Jeep. It was Volkswagen's, I think, attempt. I think it kind of started during during wartime in Germany. They kind of wanted to create some kind of Jeep for themselves, and I think this is kind of like the predecessor to that. The outside does not look terrible. It's been repainted. It does have bubbling going on in it. You can see mostly in this area. But right there, it's got some. I know there was some on the fender. There's a blister right there. I'm not sure if it's showing up. And you can see some there. But for what are we going on, 50 years now? It is, not terrible compared to everything else. Then again, I have not put it up in the air. This is the first time we were going to go look at it together underneath. So let's get the lift up, take a peek, and see what kind of issues are happening under there. Then we'll start getting into, after the assessment, we'll start doing some wrenching. All right, let's go under, take a peek. I do have it registered. That was kind of the first thing I did. Make sure all the paperwork was okay before we start picking away at it. So they are a combination of VW Beetle, I think VW Bus, and Karmann Ghia parts is the components that they're made out of. Looks like it's got original floors in it. Looks like we got a line hanging down here from something. I don't know what that line is. It's flapping. That's what I'm looking at. A little bit of rust in the rocker right there. I'm gonna guess, by the fact that it's no longer connected to anything, that line, that's probably for like an evaporator canister for the gas tank, be my guess. Like the floor is separating right here. That's typical. I'm not quite sure where the battery is in this. If it's like a Beetle, that's where the battery would be, and that's the common spot where they blow out. And it's definitely been undercoated, or that looks like fiberglass somebody put on it, huh? Yeah, that's a jack point too. It would just fiberglass the jack point. It'll be fine. I would suggest any older Volkswagen of any sort, you do not try to use the jack points. It's not terrible. Again, it's a New England car. I think the backstory on it was at a summer home in south of Boston, I think it was. Again, I'm not positive of that. Gearboxes are on the crusty side of, I'm looking at these right here. Looks like we have an axle seal that's been spitting fluid out. Looks like the rear main seal on the engine is leaking. I don't know how bad it's leaking, but it's wet. That's all this moisture right here. Yeah, it's not terribly rusty. Again, I'm not familiar with them, so I don't know quite what does and doesn't blow out. Tires look decent. I don't see cracking in the sidewalls. I kind of want to change them out for something else anyway, but that's for another time. So the issue I had with it, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it from down here, was, let's go, let's see if I can get you up in there. So, all right, somewhere up there you see a pair of ice grips hanging. Yeah, I decided to put gas in because it had no gas in it. And when I put gas in it, the gas came right back out of it. So I believe it's probably the fuel line in the front has been corroded off. So that's when I just clamped it and parked it. And that's what we were dealing with now. It's like some put a wire on that steering box for the horn up there. The beam looks decent. I don't see any rust on the front beam. All right. Yeah, not terrible. The brakes are dragging. You can tell by the way when I was pushing it what was happening. I'm not sure what that moisture is right there. If that is, it's been stored indoors that whole time too. So whatever we're seeing is not water. Like whatever this is, that's not water. I don't know again if that's a fuel vent. I doubt it's the brake line. The brake line should be like a beetle. It should run down the inside compartment down there on the inside. How do the flex lines look? Older, but not terrible. I do see some cracking on those, or is that just paint that's blistering off? And somebody puts newer, it's got a newer wheel cylinder in it. I could see the bolt and the hardware looks newer. Again, like I said, the brakes are dragging. Let's go drop it down. We'll open the hood and we'll open the engine compartment, see how they look. So one of the reasons why I think it sat so long is when I looked under here, you could see that it's got a bunch of like black mold. Let me figure out where the support rod is. There it is. And the outside looked like it was cleaned up, but the inside definitely looks like it was not. And you can see the after effects of something that either sat in a garage or something for a long time, and all the black mold. That's, I believe that's what it is, all over the inside of it, inside here. Again, it doesn't look terribly rusty, which is nice. Looks like it took a hit right there. There's the repaint. You see all those little, that's all Bondo. Like somebody took a dent puller and pulled the front end out. So there's the reason for the repaint, and probably why that fender is kind of crappy in the front there. How about the rest? This looks pretty good. So we'll probably shoot some bleach on that and we'll let it sit, and that should kill a bunch of that. Let's go take a look at the engine compartment. One thing that looks like an issue that we kind of maybe want to address right now, the hinge looks like it's ripping out of the back of the deck, or is already ripped out of it, because that looks like it's been bound up. Let's give her something at least to help out. So we're gonna have to address that too. Let's see if we can get this open. You guys need to back up a little. Thank you. Actually, probably should spray both of them, huh? Find ourselves another prop rod. And you can see there's more mold back here too. And it's kind of the same indication, like it sat for a long period of time. And my guess is they probably brought it to a local repair shop of some sort. And you could tell by that bright, shiny carburetor that's on there. And it looks like it's got a new voltage regulator on the back wall there, that they kind of went around and did what they did to try to get it running. And maybe they got it running and saw the other issues that it had and decided to take the tax write-off for the most part. It looks pretty complete. This is, a bunch of stuff is VW thing specific on the engine only, and it looks like most of that is still there. The air cleaner set up and all. Neat. Well, I think we should try to get it running, for a little bit of rust right there. Try to get it running first, and we'll make it so at least don't have to push it in and out of the garage anymore. And it shouldn't take too much. Again, it was running when I had it. It wasn't running great, but it was running. We still have to go through everything. So let's get it back up in the air. Let's get that front tire off of there and see if we can replace that fuel line. Let's go see how much fuel is still in it. I don't know if I'm better off draining it or trying to be fast about it. The battery may still be good. Let's see what the gas gauge does. If anything, I'm looking at that right there. Yeah, she's going. It's good that both of these lights come on. They should go, one's oil light, one's generator. It's kind of like a self-test when you turn the key on if they still light up. I wonder if the gas pissed out of it. Anyway, let's go look down the cap. Yeah, I don't know why it's so hard to push. Both sides are like that. There, give it a little access to get in there now. Yeah, so my earlier opinions seem to be kind of following the same path. Looks like it's a newer gas tank, and even the pickup where the fuel line is, that's the brass thing in the center that we're looking at. That's all new, and my guess is it was all contaminated, maybe full of rust or whatever it was, and they changed it all out and tried to get it to run right again. And I don't know, again, what happened after that, but definitely is showing the tales of being sitting for a while. So let's, so it's got in the tunnel is one side of it, and it's gonna be hard to get you in there with a camera. Tunnel is on one side, connection, and then the other side is the tank. Sometimes your best bet, this doesn't have a easy access for the gas cap. We could try to drain it out. The gas gauge shows that it's empty. I filled it, and when I saw it leaking, I clipped it off. So I don't know if that is just the gas gauge not working, or it is almost out of gas. So I'm gonna go try and change that out. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get the camera in there. There's just not enough room for the two of us. So let me get that knocked out, and we'll get rid of that crappy piece of fuel line there. I decided before I do that front line, I'm gonna go jump on the back. There's another line back here. We are back by the transmission. That's where this is, and the engine's back there. There's a steel line that runs through the center tunnel of the car, which is this, and then it goes back to a flex line because the engine's on motor mounts. It moves around. It can't be a hard line. So that goes to the engine, and then the engine has another metal line that runs up to the upper part too. That we should also do those fuel lines while we're doing it. So let me get that one out of there. I literally just touched the line on the other end because we did it, and they had the clamp here, but I think it was only put on to about that far. So that was doing not much of anything. How about this side? Plus it's the wrong size. Yeah, look at that. It's the wrong size fuel line. So Volkswagen uses a 7mm fuel line. This is probably 1/4 inch. It's too big. Then you have to clamp down and kind of crush down on it. It's not a good setup. Then this is original Volkswagen fuel line, is this braided fuel line that you can kind of see. And this really doesn't need hose clamp. The outside jacket of it is a weave that keeps tension on. The outside jacket is almost considered a hose clamp. But the problem with this fuel line is, for the most part, it's not good for ethanol fuel. It deteriorates them and causes a lot of problem. This I was able to find. I haven't tried using it yet. This is 7mm fuel line that is set up for ethanol fuel. So we're gonna go try to set this up, use this. We'll use those hose clamps over if they're needed, and we'll find out in the future if that works out for us. Well, I guess over the 8 months that it's been sitting in storage, it slowly seeped the gas out of it. And those were the the wet stains that we were seeing down below. Because I got the fuel line off of it, and there was nothing coming out of the tank. So gas gauge works, I think. It's just bone dry. All right, we can get the fuel line back on there with a clamp, and we can move on. So I bet you can guess where that fitting is made. Generally, if you look at it from a side profile, it's straight, and then it has like a little bit of a bulbous end to it. This has sharp edges on the outside of it. Right there, I tried putting the fuel line on it, it cut right through the fuel line. So it's like they cut it with a chop saw or something on the end of it, and this whole upper side right here is like a razor blade. So I'm gonna work on that, kind of file that out of the way, and hopefully get our fuel line back on there without cutting it. Well, I tried filing on it, and I did. I got, a little bit kind of cut away on it. You can see I was running the file on the edge there, but it still did the same thing. It's like a razor blade on the edge of it. It's just too sharp. It's actually kind of, like I said, it should have like a bulbed flare and then come back to a taper again, and it's not. It's just, you know, like a razor blade edge. And I actually think it's what maybe the original failure was, because that is right where it was brought up to, and the line cut through. It would have failed anyway, but that did not help it. That was the abrasion that took it out, you know. So, a bunch of crap in the tank too. This is what's sitting in there. Looks like just some crud. It's in the base of the tank. I don't know if I have another one of these or not, but like I said, I'm probably going to go and we'll take a pipe cutter and we'll cut the edge of that and at least have it just so it's straight and not that setup that's on there. But I'm going to go look and see if I have another one of these. No, we're going to have to go fix the one we got. Let's just go sand it flush on the end. We'll go take that, and we'll hit it on a wire wheel so it doesn't have any sharp edges on the edge. I got a new gasket for it too. Let's see how this goes together now. Oh, much better. That's what we're looking for. And when it bends, it doesn't cut. I was putting it in, it was cutting right through the side of the jacket. Perfect. Nice snug fit. So the fuel lines are all back on up in there. We got this wheel off. I figure maybe we'll go chase backing off the brake adjustment. Hopefully it is not the wheel cylinders that are seizing, and it's just that there's rust in there. I don't know if you can see the little star wheel right there. So that's what we're going to go back off. That's the brake adjustment. All the Air-Cooled VW stuff has manual adjusting brakes. So we're just going to go in there with a spoon. Take a little bit of pressure off of it. Let's see what that does for us. There we go. Should be 2 and 1 on the other side too. There's a lower one for each shoe. Just take my word for it. So I'm going to go hit the brakes real quick, and I'm going to see if this wheel locks up again, or if it just stays free. If it locks up, then we got probably wheel cylinders that are all rusted up. I pumped them a couple times. Yeah. Well, that is going to be an issue. Let's not kind of jump on that right now. We know we have to address it, but let's continue on. I'll throw a couple bolts in. I want to get it kind of like running in yard driving. We know we have that to deal with. Let's just check out back what we got for fuel lines. So we got the front one done, the one underneath done. It looks like when they did the carb, this all looks like new fuel line that's on there. Let's keep going. There's a line. Here's that steel line I was talking about that I attached to on the other end. That goes to the fuel pump. That looks all decent. And then from the fuel pump out to a fuel filter, out back and up to the carb. That all looks pretty decent. All right, so go dump some gas in the tank and we'll make sure we don't have any leaks and go from there. All right, you keep an eyeball in there for me. Let me know if anything pisses out. I replaced the gasket on there, but it wasn't exactly the right size. Let's just wet its whistle. Anything? It's pouring out, right? Kind of right with that brass nipple is what I was really concerned about right there. No dripping. Yeah, I'm going for it. Put a whole gallon in it. Because we got to get up over, that went up into the tank about an inch. Keep you from picking up the crap, you know, that we saw, like any rust or sediment. How about now? So you don't kill the battery, let's we'll fill the float bowl up manually. This is a vent that goes into the float. So instead of us cranking it, trying to get the fuel pump and everything and fuel lines to fill, this should be able to run long enough for it to do just that. There you go. Let's give her a crank, see what we get. her a couple of revs. See if it sees. Right, we'll put it on a fast idle. There we go. We'll let it sit like that for a second. Feels pretty good. Stay running. Nice. Doesn't sound terrible. Taking a quick look for any leaks. Shouldn't be. That's all in the back. It's not like it's pressurized. The fuel pump's in the back, you know, not in the front, pressurizing all that system. Let's take a quick look at that front setup. Don't want to let it run too long either. I want to adjust the valves. All right, excellent. Give her a couple of revs of the throttle, listen to it real quick, and then we'll shut it down. I'm gonna let it run a little bit longer. I'm gonna go open the door. I'm gonna let it run for just a couple minutes to make sure that the fuel system filled all the way up and it's running on the fuel tank, not what I put in the carburetor. Should run about a minute. A little chirpy. I think that's just a belt slipping around the generator a little. Sure, the battery's low. There's some rust on that bottom pulley. And it's all the way off. Good, that's the idle. Thought that fuel pump's leaking a little. Wet around the base of that fuel pump. Yeah, I think it's the pump itself. Let me go shut it off. Yeah, I believe there's a little vent hole right up here somewhere. And it looks like that's what's leaking down. We'll keep an eye on that. I think we need a fuel pump though. Some pumps too, I also know, if they'll leak internally, and what it'll do is it'll go into the oil and it'll thin the oil out and cause you to have problems. Yeah, it's starting to look like it's got an issue, huh? It's not a cheapo aftermarket one either. It is a Volkswagen one. It's too bad. I'd like to have kind of kept that one. Well, considering it's crappy out and raining out anyway, I think now maybe would be a good time to, we'll back it outside, we'll spray it down with a bunch of bleach where all that mold is, and we'll let that set up and we'll hit it with a pressure washer. On top of the gas line's leaking underneath, it looks like the fill neck, probably right here, is leaking also. You can see it's all wet down there where I poured gas in it, and it's all running down. Just keeps on giving, doesn't it? Oh well. 50-year-old cars, right? Alright, let's get this thing outside and spray all this crap down and see if we can get rid of some of this mold that's in here. Ew. First drive. If anything else works. Alright, time for it. Take a bleach bath. If it goes away, that's what it was. It was all just like a bunch of black mold. If it doesn't, it's dirt. It's kind of looking like the mold to me though. And we'll give that a good soaking. Yep, I'm going with mold. It's already disappearing. It goes from like a black color to like that tannish brown. Over here might be a different story. This is where the gas is. That might be just discoloration from the gas. Let's go give the hood some love. Fortunately, all the wiring is under the dash. It's not like a Beetle where you open the hood and you see the wiring. This is all, nothing's in here. You don't have to worry about too much getting stuff wet. Again, we're going to hit it with a pressure washer, so we might have to punch some drain holes in the bottom down by the tire well. But we'll see. I'll get behind the license plate. Alright, we'll let that set up, and let's go to the back engine bay. Give it a shot in there. I'll probably just soak everything back here, even the engine itself. I don't think we're going to hurt it. Alright, pressure wash the whole engine down also. One time, get rid of the crud. You can see it on the engine lid there. That looks like this is the original color, more of a bright white, whereas the rest of it looks like it's kind of like a cream color. I don't know if it shows up on camera. Probably should have popped that air cleaner out of there. Gave us a little bit of room. We'll let that do its thing. Looking good. We think the chances are that that's a drain plug. It could be. We can grab a screwdriver, try to stab underneath that. If not, we're going to drill a couple of holes. There we go. That's a drain hole. And what if I just punched out of that? Is now a drain hole. Fixed. Well, I'd say it's making a pretty big difference pretty quickly. Yeah, some dirt on it, but mostly that's all it was mold going in there. Whoever humid, sticky garage or wherever it was parked. I think the whole thing was like this too, and they kind of like washed the outside, cleaned it up, but didn't get into any of this. Yeah, I'll give that a little bit more time and then fire up the pressure washer and we'll give her a shot. May have to do it twice, maybe not. Well, not that I'm going to aim for it, but let's try to see if we can maybe throw some duct tape over the top of that generator. Let's try to keep water out. Not if it's going to stick or not, though. Give it a fighting chance, right? It's probably just going to blow right off of there. Too oily, I think. It's okay. But it can get wet. If you look at like a Karmann Ghia, the engine lid is open on older ones. And you can see right down to the generator, so every time it rains, it does go right on them. Not that that's what I'm aiming for. It's like that's cleaning up pretty good too. That nonsense went on for about a good 45 minutes or so, but definitely made a decent improvement. Anything that was not mold, you know, the greasy dirt still kind of stays on there. This is probably all just sitting here. I think I'm gonna let it we'll try to fire it up. I think chances are of that, huh? Soak the engine down pretty good. Got inside here. These were all moldy up in here too. I probably should have sprayed. I shot from bleach from the inside up. I probably should have shot down in here too. Done the same. Not saying that it can't go for another bath, but we definitely got rid of most of the heavy crap that was in there. In the bottom of the deck lid. Looks decent. Good. Yeah. You think? Think she's gonna fire? Yeah, little faith. Our tape stayed on. Let's go turn the key, see what we get. If not, I'll just kind of crank it in on a starter and we'll let it dry out overnight. Hey, I'm gonna say no, but let's see what we get. I'm gonna let it run out here a little bit. Stay running. Gas gauge is working, I guess. Yeah, I'm gonna let it burn off whatever water's in the engine bay a little bit. Also let the engine just run instead of filling up the shop with. Uh-oh. I had my chance, right? Let's see if we go. Much better. Let's go pop it in second gear. We only gotta go about 15 feet forward. 20. See if it'll crank in second. How's the deck lid shutting? Come on, up over the hill. How many people are feeling bad for that starter? Alright, now it'll start, right? Nah, points are wet. Alright, well it's the next day, and I left the cap off of it just in case any water got in there. Good piece of dirt just went in. And hopefully everything dried out, if that's what the case was. My only other thought is possibly maybe we blew a fuse for the coil. But I think the wires just got wet and it caused it to shut down. Give her a crank, see what it does, see if it'll fire up. Go. Missing a little bit, so it might be a little bit wet on something. I don't want to get it too hot. Let's get it back up on the lift, and I want to pop the valve covers off, start looking into the valve adjustments. We're just going to kind of go over things because it's new to us and see what condition things are in. Let's get it so that number one cylinder, which is going to be this plug wire right here, we want the rotor facing that. So we're pretty close. Let's just go rotate that. There's a little notch in there too. And essentially wherever the rotor is pointing at whatever cylinder that is, that's the cylinder that I can adjust the valves on. Kind of a quick and dirty way of doing it. Let's get her up in the air a little bit more. Who's going to pop the valve cover off, and that's going to tell us the history of, again, I have no history of this whatsoever, so I don't know how well it's been maintained. And when you pop the valve cover off, whatever crap is in there is going to kind of indicate if the oil was changed or not, valves adjusted or not. Let's go find out. All right, let's see if we can do this without knocking the light off. Generally will give a decent indication of how it's been maintained. And that actually looks really good. That actually looks awesome. Happy for that. I'm just gonna take a quick look, see if we have any studs pulling, which would be these kind of being showing a lot of threads. They look decent, it looks pretty clean. So we're gonna adjust number one cylinder, which is gonna be this one. and we are looking for 6,000. And that's a cold adjustment. That's why I don't want to heat the engine up too much. So that's real sloppy, and that one's real sloppy. You really need to get some of the play. Sloppy is not so dangerous. Is when they go tight is when they burn a valve. So I'd rather have it loose than tight. Yeah. All right, knock it off. So I'm gonna go get a wrench. We'll go crack them loose, start adjusting them, and work our way around. I'm not sure how many miles are on this thing. Did you guys notice when we were at the speedometer? Go take a peek. And it looks like we have. That's not 290. No, that's 29,000. It's got 29,000 miles on it. 129. It doesn't look like it has 129. That's the original engine. That's not. Yeah, I would say that would look about right for what's shown inside the valve cover. I'm not happy about that. Hopefully that's what it is. I forgot on the paperwork what I even looked into. It probably wrote it down as 29,000. Awesome. I think it was just used at a summer home, so it probably didn't get that much use, just putting around, going out for ice cream maybe. Yeehaw. Yeah, it's a little bit of tight quarters, but let's see how this works out for us. So we're just gonna go crack those jam nuts loose on both of them, because we know both of them need to be adjusted. And sometimes they sit for a long time. The center is kind of frozen to it. Let's see what we get. Yeah, a little bit. So I'm just going to set them up so I have a little bit of drag on them. I'm sure the lighting's getting it terrible. See if we can move that light. So I want to get up on there and just get it so that a little bit of drag, something like that. And sometimes when you tighten the nut up, it'll change it. That's pretty good. That's too sloppy. So I'm going to do the same. I'm going to do all the cylinders going around. The next cylinder, again, I'll just rotate the rotor so it points at cylinder number 2. I'll adjust number 2, and then number 3 and number 4. Anything funky shows up, I'll bring you back, but it looks like it's pretty straightforward. Yeah, everything was fine all the way around. I did go and notice that we do have a issue with the exhaust. This is the heater box. This is exhaust flows through that center pipe right here, and then air from the engine blows through here and up into the cabin and creates heat. Okay, exchanger of some sorts. Well, the exhaust part is wasted right there. So they make a repair kit for them. I may have some. But we'll just kind of keep that in mind. Actually, looks like somebody might even weld it on it a little bit. We'll see. How's the other one? Now that I noticed that one, right? I noticed the second one. Well, it looks pretty good still. So I wonder if they. No, I was gonna say maybe they replaced one of the heater boxes. This one looks a little cleaner than the other one. My light's having a bad day. Nah, they're about the same vintage. Just needs a little love. One other thing I noticed too, I don't know if it's showing up for you guys. Look at the muffler. You see on the left hand side, see how it's leaning downward like that? It's tighter up on that side than it is on that side. I don't know if it's optical illusion for the bumper or it's kind of fixed. It's not like that bumper's hanging from, you know, long lengthy tubes. It bolts right to the cylinder head. I don't think you're really going to be able to see anything, but up here the muffler goes, yeah, it's got a tin over it, so the muffler bolts right to the side of the cylinder head. So if it's bent, actually I think it's a combination of both, because I'm looking at the gap here, right? That gap gets smaller on the bumper, so the bumper's out of whack a little bit, but I don't think it's that. I think the bumper's out and I think the muffler's out, both. Anyway, keep an eye on that. Maybe it took a hit in the ass end, not sure. All right, I can go button this stuff up. Another thing we want is check point gap. You want 16 thou on the top of the lobe. And essentially you're just trying to put the points in there and not have them open up at all. That wire's in our way. It's a little too big. That's how much plate there's in. I got to close that up. And we also need the center of that. Can definitely use a drop or two of oil going down that. There's already grease on. I can see white grease is already on the cams. So the point, what happens if this is not lubed, there's a little tab on the points, and it'll sound like a bird chirping while it's running, beep, 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 and it'll wear that little pad down, and then the point gap will close up on it. I'm going to close that gap up a little bit. It's about 20 thou. I'm going to make it about 16. One last thing before we put that cap on, I'm going to check vacuum advance. So this distributor has vacuum and mechanical advance. Vacuum runs off the distributor up here where this hose is going, runs down to a diaphragm. Sometimes these diaphragms will fail. Actually, again, this car is 50 years old. I'm going to just draw on that. I'm going to suck on it, and we should see that rotor move. The rotor, the plate rather, the point plate, not the rotor. That's working correctly. And then on the rotor, there's mechanical advance. You can see how much I'm moving it there, and it's springing back. There's a set of weights on springs down below that are just doing this as I'm going out. Well, as that spins faster, the faster it spins, the more those weights move out, the more that rotor will advance itself. So as vacuum and mechanical advance, both of them seem like they're doing what they're supposed to be doing. Good. And looking at that belt, it's got a bunch of dry rot. You can see the cracking in between them. So on a Volkswagen, you always kind of carry a spare anyway. So we're gonna go take this one off. I do believe I have new ones upstairs. So we're gonna go change it out and maybe. Hold on, I'm twisting you. Holy moly, that's tight. I think somebody was trying to tighten that to tighten the belt. It doesn't work that way. It's got shims in it. And you adjust the shims for how far apart the two halves of the pulley are, and it tightens up on the belt and changes the adjustment. Because the generator doesn't move, it's fixed. So you would take shims, you see some shims inside here, you would take more or less of them in or out of here, and it allows this pulley to get closer or farther away. There we go. Come on, don't fight me. Gets closer or further away, and that changes the adjustment of how far up the belt rides. So let me go look for a new one of these. You can see all the cracking that is in it. That's really kind of punky. And we'll just throw this one. A lot of times you put it in the spare tire, in the little clips that are in it, and just kind of make sure there's a spare. So that's a new belt that's in there. And I left the shims the way they are, and you can see how tight that is. So I got to take some shims from the outside here and place them on the inside. So I get, you want about like a half-inch amount of movement. So I'm probably going to jump to swapping maybe about 3 shims in. 3 or 4. It is pretty tight. And over time they do kind of wear in. And the biggest thing, that light's annoying me. The biggest thing is this is more than just a generator. This is the fan. That's why it's so important to have a good belt on it, because you lose this, it will overheat in probably about 5 minutes or so if you're driving it, you know. So I'm just going to keep rotating those shims around. It already feels better. And you got to put the spares on the outside of it, because it needs to, this can't bottom out. If you just took the shims out and didn't use them, it needs, I want to say it's 11 total in the stack. It's something like that. And that'll make it so that keep spinning it around. And I'm going to screw with this and take that light and throw it out the window. You got to kind of spin it around too, because it's got to, the belt's got to kind of like come up out of the groove as you're tightening it. But like that's still too tight. I'm going to probably go maybe another 2 shims and get us in the window. There's a little more tweaking, and that's got it. It's got, like I said, like a half-inch of play. You don't want to go too tight too, because it'll kill the bearings in the generator. So that's a good compromise. Yeah, she was due for a change. Not terrible though. we're gonna pull that down. Their oil filter is up inside here. It's a piece of screen. And after this gets done draining, we'll take a peek and see how crudded up that is. Judging by the valve covers though, my guess is not gonna be too bad. One of the bolts had 2 washers on it, which was wrong. Not too big of a deal, but. Yeah, she's done dripping. Let's the last one off of there. One of them pulled out as a stud too. Guess I'm doing the same together. Sometimes the stud will come right out. You just put them back in the same way. There we are. So look at the sludge on the bottom of that. That is really not that bad. I've seen them where the whole thing's been packed solid. And again, that's the whole idea of it too. So let's get this down. And I can tell this has not been apart in a while. A lot of times too, people change the oil. They used to have a plug in the center you used to be able to pull out, and the screen would never come out. Nobody would ever remove the screen. And we get all clogged up. There we go. And Volkswagen decided later on to get rid of that plug in the center, so you have to drop the screen every time you want to take the oil out of it. That's looking pretty good. Looking through the side of that, all that's fairly clean. A lot of them you'll see they're all mudded up. There's a little booger right there. That's about it. Felt like a piece of rubber. That's good. I'm gonna go wash these components up. I'll go clean that out, and I'll just put all that back together. I clean those components up. You get they sell these little gasket sets like this, and it has the new brass washers in them. And you just clean them. You don't have to replace them. They do sell new ones of these, but for the most part, you just rinse them out and put them back on again. One thing I was noticing, compared to a regular Beetle, it looks like, I think this is on VW things maybe. There's a skid plate. All this stuff that you see here is not on a regular Beetle. So I don't know if this is an aftermarket thing or if all things, aftermarket thing, all things came with this. I'm sure it'll pop up in the comments section. I'm gonna clean that up. We'll throw it back together, and before we go back up top, we're going to take the drain plug out of the trans, and we're going to go stick our finger in the hole and see what the gear level of that is. I have no history on this, so I just kind of want to check all the boxes, make sure that we're not going to burn something up. So this has a transaxle, meaning the transmission and the rear end the same thing. So here's the drain plug. It's like a big 17mm Allen. Fits up in there. That's how you would drain it, and then it's got a fill right there. So I'm going to go work a wrench up inside there, and I'm going to put another 17mm wrench on this to try to crank it. Sometimes it'll go. It depends if we tighten it. Yeah, I got to get a 17mm wrench on there and turn that. We'll take that plug out. And all you got to do is just stick your finger in. As long as you go down, about that far, your finger gets wet, you're good. Stop it. Works out for us. And generally, unfortunately like this, we haven't driven it much. If we drove it a bunch, any crap would have got kicked up in it. And when you do the dunk, so to speak, if you see contaminants in it, you change it. Generally it stays pretty good. I don't know what the maintenance interval would be on gear oil. Motor oil's 3,000 on these. I'll go clean my finger and see if I can. Yeah, that's looking pretty dirty. I'm gonna go see what I have for gear oil. Yeah, I could use a change. Definitely. And that even hasn't even spun much, right? Just drove it out and drove it in. We haven't even run this thing up to speed. So it's too late at night for me to go. I'm not going to drain that until I have fluid, but we know it needs to be done. At least there's fluid in it. We're not going to burn that up, but that needs to be addressed. As I got that filled up, straight 30. Also, a lot of people use, I use it too, is the diesel oil. because diesel oil still has, I want to say Teflon, it's not Teflon. There's a coating in it that helps protect the camshaft. I'll think of it in a second when it's too late. But yeah, this only holds like 2.7 quarts. There's not much to them. The older Bugs would have an oil bath air cleaner. And essentially what was left of the 2.7 you put in the air filter, and that was part of it. This does. I do not think it has that set up. I gotta look into it. Another thing we still need to kind of check on. I'm gonna go put my preheat hoses back on, and my preheat hose and my heater box hoses back on. I took them off when I was pressure washing them. That's just air that pumps out of here down through those heater boxes that we showed. And I think the next thing that we really need to kind of go deal with, so it has any kind of drivability, is looking into those front brakes while they're dragging. So let me go throw that together, and we'll hop back on the front. Oh, and I looked up the engine code, and AM, that's what's stamped on the block right there, is VW thing only, because it has bosses for that skid plate that's underneath it. That's good. It is the original motor, or at least it's the original motor for a VW thing. You could put a Beetle engine in there, but those skid plates, I guess, are from the factory. I screwed that up with the pressure washer. I think I got new ones. But that is the correct one for that skid plate, and it has, I guess, the bosses for the mounting holes for that skid plate that we saw underneath there. So I think it's got 29,000 miles on it. So it's kind of looking at the front end, and I was thinking about it a little bit. So we have, you know, definitely dragging. We already backed that one off, and we saw that it tightened up as soon as we hit the brakes again. And I'm going to show you the other side, the other front wheel. Here we are over on the driver's side. About the same amount of drag. So I'm thinking that we may have a different issue. So inside there, you have brake shoes on both sides. There's a little hydraulic wheel cylinder. Brake fluid comes in through here. There's pistons on the outside, here and here, that move the brake shoes out, and they make contact at the same time with the brake drum. And when you let off the pedal, the cylinders squeeze back together. If you were to have a radar vision inside here, there's a spring in the middle, a cap and a cap, a diaphragm and a diaphragm, and the fluid pushes out. When the pressure goes away, it relaxes. The spring pressure, the springs going across these brake shoes, right across here, that push these shoes back together, and it doesn't touch anymore. Well, what can happen is the wheel cylinder can get crudted up over time, and those little pistons, they push out because there's a lot of pressure there. But when you let off the pedal, they kind of relax and, you know, again, get out of the way. And sometimes it does not happen, and get your brakes dragging what it is. But here, both our brakes are dragging the same amount. And although it can be both wheel cylinders are doing the same thing, there's a possibility that we may be having another problem. How many are following me right now? They're saying, I know what it is. So get on it. So what I'm going to try doing is, I think the system might be holding pressure, and the way we're going to be able to tell, we're going to go take one of the bleeders, we're going to go put a wrench on it, we're going to go crack the bleeder open. If we get like a bit of fluid that kind of under a little bit of pressure that shoots out of it, then the system was holding pressure, and we do that and both wheels turn, these aren't our problem. Let's go try that and see what happens. Okay, awkwardly positioned here, but let's see if we can get a wrench on it. And it doesn't matter which side you do, because both fronts are tied together. It's an 8mm. Hopefully it'll break free, we'll see. Actually, that might be a 7. Yeah, I think that was a 7. I think we'll get a different wrench. Hold that thought. That's better. One chance not to strip it out, right? Not seeing anything. Yeah. I'm going to let that dribble for a second. I can see if that made any difference. Oh, if my thought was right, it would have been. Now, so the brakes are still locked up just as they were. What I was thinking was the master cylinder, the plunger in the master cylinder was not returning, and it was holding pressure on the lines, allowing both front wheels to be locked up. We're going into the front wheels. Actually, I kind of prefer that it's not the master cylinder. It's more of a pain in the ass to get to. All right, let's get the wheels off of here and the brake drum out, and we'll see what they look like. Let's get a better look. The wheel bearing stayed behind. That looks like a newer wheel cylinder though. I really kind of, sometimes you can push back and forth. Let's get the clips off and get the brakes right off of it, and we'll see how freed up they are. Fronts are super simple. It's got little kind of half turn clips that hold them on. And then the whole assembly should just lift. Should be able to lift it right out of there. That, it keeps the brakes together. Shoes look pretty good. Not too much wear on them. So these should be able to rotate. Let's go put a little bar in them. Yeah, what it was. They were just bound up from sitting. Both of them. So let's go get a set of pliers. You may not even have to take the guts out from below it. Maybe just the upper part of the pistons that are stuck. Somebody definitely did. It looks like they put new brakes on it. Let's get these out of here. There's probably just a little bit of crud on them. Yeah. Because you got aluminum and steel. These are aluminum. And that's just the kind of corrosion that built up on them. It was not allowing them to return. So you may have to do this to all four wheels. There we go. So I'm going to go clean them up on a wire wheel. We're going to take a quick look. Let's go take a quick look at that bore that's in there. Let's go see. Yeah, they do not look really corroded. I think it's too much light. It's too much light, right? You can see that that's the little rubber piston that's down below. I think they're going to be alright. We just got to clean the crap off of them that has corroded up on them just from sitting. Yeah, I thought this thing sat for a while. And then we got to get, that's the inner bearing, and then that's the seal behind it. That's supposed to stay inside the brake drum, so that's got to get popped off. I may just kind of go and clean them, repack them anyway while they're here. Adjusters seem like they're all free. Somebody greased up the backing plate like it should be. So. Let's pop them in there and see if they are free. They won't, that's fine. You don't put any grease or anything on them. The other part really won't stick. If anything, that'll leak where the little rubber caps are. They shouldn't really be an issue. We're gonna find out soon enough. So I'm gonna go through it. I'm not gonna waste you guys' time. We'll put all this stuff back together. I'm gonna repack the bearings. I'll take the wheel off the other side. I'm not gonna do the rear quite yet. I wanna kind of jack it up and we'll check and see how those are, if they're binding or not. But we're going to concentrate on the front. I think it's just the two front that felt like they had an issue. So I'm going to do this with the proper tooling instead of my fingers. Throw all this back together and maybe we'll jump over the other side, take a peek what that one looks like too. The right tool for the right job. Let's see if I got some new ones of them upstairs in my stash. I think I do. Any of the sides off. This one even comes complete with its own cobwebs. Let's go pop that off. I'm betting it's going to be the same deal though. Yep, that one's stuck. That one not too bad. There's your problem. I'll do the same thing all over again. Hey, do ourselves a test run. We're both spinning. Let's go jam on the brake pedal a couple times and make sure it doesn't lock up anymore. And driver's side. they'll make a little bit of like the shoes touch. That's a little bit of noise that you hear, and that's fine. We'll smash that a couple times. It's like we need new brake pedal pads too. Let's get rid of these. They're shot. I should have a set of those around somewhere. That's the clutch. That clutch should have free play. Maybe a little less than that, and it should kind of return. Brake cylinder feels okay though. That's good. That's got a little too much free play too. There's a stop on the floor that creates where the pedals rest at. It's a little pad that's behind these two. It looks like it needs to be kind of brought up because that pedal is kind of, they're a little too far forward. I think that's just out of whack a little. That'll fix both of those free plays. Let's go see what our brakes are like. Take that. See if they're free. And driver's side. Oh yeah. They even settled themselves the brake shoes. You can hear it's not even touching as much. Let's go see the other side. And passenger side. Oh yeah. I don't know about the back brakes, but the front ones are working now. And look what I found. Pedal pads. And one for you. Is Volkswagen upside down? Come on now. Attention to detail. I'm going to have to probably get up there with my little claw hook to get behind there and kick you guys out of the way. Because you're standing in my spot. Yeah. Ain't they pretty? Here's that gearbox repair kit I was talking about. So you cut off the damage that was there and you hammer this into the exhaust part of it, and it's just a tight fit, wedge fit, and then this goes into the muffler, and there's the clamp that goes back around it, and it just gets rid of that rotten spot that's in it. They're pretty common a long time ago. The aftermarket one. But just because I had that uncomfortable feeling about not checking those rear brakes for dragging like the fronts were, I think we should let the front down, bring it forward a little bit, jack the ass end up in the air, and see what we got. Just in case. Well, is he able to roll it forward on the lift fairly easy? That one's fine. Let's go check the other side. And how do you want to play? It's alright. I had emergency brake on, so I think we'll keep an eye on it. It's not bound up. Again, we'll keep an eye on it. When we take it for a test drive later, we'll just kind of feel if we're getting some heat generating on the wheels. What I did pick up though was a bunch of gear oil for the transmission. So let's fire it up. We'll put it in like third or fourth gear. We'll let it run for a minute so it churns up the gearbox, and then we'll drain the fluid out of that. Run it for about a minute or so. It seems pretty quiet. I don't hear any whining out of the trans. It's in third gear. Jack failed. Launches across the room. Sounds quieter too with the valves adjusted. Yeah, those brakes are fine. Let on for about another 30 seconds, we'll shut it off. It's good enough. I don't want to fill the shop up with exhaust. There we go. Yeah, it seems decent. All right, let's flip that up and get the crappy stuff out of it. Let's let her rip. Let's see how we get on there. It's probably, my guess is it's probably never been changed. Oh yeah. Definitely needs to be done. Yeah, it's pretty mucky. It's like black mucky. 50-year-old gear oil. Alright, we'll let that piss for a while and see how it does. You want to look in the pan? Yeah. Looks more like motor oil than it does gear oil, huh? Yeah, at least there's something in it. So there's that. So if any have ever dealt with trying to get gear oil up inside of one of these, I got one of these little pump jobs, and I set it up, let's go purge out. I think it was automatic transmission fluid we used it on last. Let's see if this will work for gear oil. Not looking good. Yeah. There it goes. And we'll try injecting that up in there till it overflows. And it should be full. Well, I was working on an air-cooled Volkswagen, and I guess the VW signal, bat signal went up in the air, and Brian decided to show up because he wanted to go play too. You brought over, what'd you get, a buffer you brought over?
I have something to help the paint shine more. Yeah, my buffer.
So I think we're gonna go work on cleaning up the body of the paint a little bit while he's here. And we may even go raise the roof. We're gonna go looking to see what it takes to take the top off. And maybe it'll help us try to clean up some of that well in the back and all, so. Look at how it's connected. It doesn't look like there's all that much. It looks like right there, here, there's a bolt that goes through. It's probably the regular pivot for the convertible. It has these that are like for a Jeep hood, latch down the back side, and in the front, it looks like just got a couple of latches here and one more in there. So let's go get the bolts out of there, and hopefully this thing's not too stupid heavy. I don't know if you can see there's a rack right there. We're not quite sure if that's going to hold it or not. We're going to go find out. We got a plan B set up too, but neither one I don't think is a great idea.
I think they're all a good idea.
Hey, we're going to use this in there. That's not too bad.
Not bad at all.
Let's picture them like that. It's like the Flintstones with their nope. Like a rack of ribs on the Flintstones. It looks like dirty. You went to Brian went to go unbolt it. Like you touched it with a wrench and the bolt fell right out of it.
Yeah, I grabbed the bolt.
It was like one thread was holding each one of them. Doesn't look too bad underneath. They're just dirty. It's not like it's got a bunch of rust or anything.
And that's how long it was.
Yeah, that's the one that plenty. Good thing they're slow moving vehicles. Alright, so we're gonna go get ready to go clean this thing up. Maybe we'll wash some of that crappy dirt off of there. And see, with I think I showed it before, it was the rust kind of coming out where the hinges are. It's kind of bleeding down on the body. I'm not sure if the camera's picking them up or not. Yeah, like right here. You see streaks coming down. Yeah, let's go see what it makes out. I wonder if maybe the chances are that windshield will fall down without those hinges. Yeah. There's a latch on your side.
Coming around.
Let me go pop you guys in the stand. Did you release the latch on yours yet?
Release the latch, yes. It is released.
Okay, easy. And the hinges move. That's a good sign. That they should click right into that hood. You don't have to do it, but yeah. Found some rust.
That's gonna need a little bit of wet sanding. Stop picking at it, Brian. Stop picking at it. It'll make it worse.
Well, it's not terrible.
That's okay.
Famous last words, right? The glass is staying in it. Yeah. It's got a cool look to it. It made it 3.5 feet shorter. Doors come off too. You just turn them and lift them, and the doors come right out of it. Keeps getting lighter and lighter. All right, enough playing. Let's go get some cleaning done. A little pre-surgery prep.
Doctor.
How's the paint underneath? It actually looks pretty good. Little rub marks where it was just chattering.
Touching. Things touch.
So we're in the middle of completing its sponge bath before we start getting into waxy stuff. And we're talking to Brian. Brian went with me to go get it.
I did.
And he remembers the story, I guess, better than I do.
I do.
And he said, he said it was from Nantucket, was
Yes,
it?
from Nantucket.
So there's that. Nantucket's an island. There's Martha's Vineyard. And that's kind of like one of the ritzy islands. Well, then there's Nantucket, which is even a smaller island that, well, the prestige people are. That would explain why it has 29,000 miles on it, because it couldn't go anywhere.
Well, yeah. How far are you gonna go on a small island?
You're right.
I'm gonna circle it 9 times today. Got 10 miles.
So that explains a lot of stuff. Also kind of explains the kind of the weird rust that's on it. Look at him go. Like an animal.
I gotta clean up around the hinges real nice, sir. I do believe I do.
As long as it gets rid of most of the staining, yeah.
Elbow grease. Just takes a little elbow grease and the right chemical.
Probably gonna just hitting this with a wire wheel. We'll just kind of rip it right back. Maybe we'll paint that section of it again. I think it's common on all of them to do that. It's not rusted right across. Guess we're gonna find out. Don't need a windshield. You got glasses. That's what sunglasses are for.
Yeah, just take it off.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's summer. Where's your windshield? It's summertime.
Going
Summer
top.
the time is there, summer the time is gone.
Going topless. So Brian's getting ready to run the buffer, and him and I found on Marketplace a carpet kit for a VW thing. I don't know what pieces it's got, so we're gonna go lay it out and see what we have. And that's like a good place to try and do that. I don't know about you, but I think we got more pieces than we do have a car. I don't think there's that much floor in there. Keeps going. Even got pieces back here. I might wait on putting those in.
I don't know, does it look any different? I can't quite tell.
Yeah, there's like dirt in it on this side. You can kind of see like the camera's picking it up. Just like acid rain specks that are in it over here and over here. Nada.
Feels nice.
Yeah.
I don't know how it looks, but it feels nice.
So how many of you were yelling at us to flip the thing around on the stand? It'll be just fine. Well, there you go. We heard you. Well, I got about 70% of the carpet figured out where it goes. Up, down, around, under the seats there. We got that, which I don't know where it goes. There's another one that's like that. I have a feeling it's probably for the tunnel that goes through it, or up in the footwells in the front, but not sure. Might want to get some wiper blades on it. That might be an issue. And the old one size fits most. I think we needed about that long. Let's go a hair longer, just in case. See how that works out. So Brian did an awesome job at detailing it all up, and I think we're ready to go for a ride. But the only problem is we don't have an inspection sticker. So I think that should fix that problem.
Problem solved.
I feel like what's the program? What's the movie? The cop cuts the roof of the top of the car off and they're driving it. Put the evidence in the back.
Oh, it's
Put the evidence in the car.
Junior.
It come from my lawn. Punch your mother in the mouth. It's a little windy. Might need to put the top windshield back. All right. See if you can actually hear something. Clutch slip. Yeah. The rear main was kind of wet, so I was a little concerned about that. So we were going to go pull the motor anyway to go change the rear main and a clutch disc. It's got to growl one direction.
Oh yeah.
What is that?
Growl. Never heard something like that one direction.
Might be a speedometer cable.
It's fine.
Judging by the alignment of the steering wheel too, we're going straight and that's what we're getting, so it might be scrubbing real bad. Yeah. That we're fine just going right. It's quiet going right.
Only right turns. You need a wagon. Somebody wrecked their wagon. Accident.
The brake's pretty good, pretty even, other than the wacky steering wheel. Hey, let's go putter around the sand pit or something. Now we got it all nice and clean.
Nice. I like your style.
Yeah, the clutch is kind of. So we are looking for a gas leak somewhere. You pumping it? There we go. Right there. I think this is really dry too.
Like the Sahara.
Yeah. Oh yeah, look, it's pissing.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Running down the side of the tank right now. That could be an issue. Is it a pipe? No. Right on that one. I think we'll chill out at 5 gallons maybe.
Okay.
Because as we're driving, that's going to splash up to there probably.
Is it a smoking flight?
Smells a little clutchy, doesn't it? that. Oh, it's going second gear. Nothing. Well guys, I think we've come to the point of the video we're going to be calling it on this one. We've definitely got more work to do, but at least we got a good idea of what we have, and it seems pretty decent. You know, a little on the rusty side, but it's a low mileage machine. Biggest thing we have to go chase is still the oil leak in the back, the clutch disc we're going to need to replace, and that exhaust heater box that has that leak in it. And all that can kind of get done in one shot. We got to pull the engine to do it, and you know, we'll take care of all three of those at the same time. Well, I'm pretty happy with it. You know, I got some stuff, a bunch of smalls we still have to go chase. I think the speedometer cable needs lube. It's kind of making a noise when you're driving, growling. The gas fill, we have to take care of that. The driver's seat, the back of it, the foam's all gone. So if you look at the passenger seat, you can see it's kind of smooth. And then you look at the driver's seat, you can see the wires coming through it, all the padding is blowing out of it. So we should be able to take them off of there, maybe put something else in its place. Glue in the carpet kit. I may or may not want to do a little bit of welding on some stuff, so I don't want to glue them in yet, so I don't cook them. The top, I'm not sure. I may want to try to go for a soft top. I kind of like it the way it is right now. Then again, the hard top is not that hard to put on. It's not like putting a cap on a back of a pickup truck. It doesn't have that weight to it. I'd say the whole thing is maybe 80 pounds. So 2 people, it's you know, fairly simple. 2 bolts and 4 little latches lock it in place. So, and I thank Brian for detailing her up and making it look pretty for us. And I appreciate it on that. And Nantucket is where it was from, and that explains what the 2 things are in the front bumper. That was for fishing. You would take those caps off, you put your fishing poles in there. I found some fishing lures and some fishing weights inside where the glove box, there's like a glove space, I should say, was in there. So that's probably what it was used for on the island. Alright guys, well, you enjoy this one, maybe stick around, and we're probably going to go do a part 2 on this, at least fixing the engine issues. And I got some wheels and tires on order, and you know, chase that. Maybe we'll kind of make it more appealing to what I want, and we'll see how that works out on the next one. So until then, I will see you guys then. Bye.